Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video, I'm going to be discussing a question that I've received a number of times over the past 10 years on this channel, which has to do with Trunks and Vegeta, and more specifically, a question revolving around the Cell games. That question has to do with which Super Saiyan form they were using during that particular point in the series. With that being, were Trunks and Vegeta mastered or grade 4 Super Saiyans in the Cell games, or were they still using their grade 3 Super Saiyan transformations at the time? Their, as it is called, their ascended Super Saiyans in the original English dub, or really the fan variation of it, let's say. Because back in the 90s, the 2000s, there were a lot of different fan names that ran around the internet and the playgrounds and what have you, where people just had a bunch of different names, and even the guides themselves have different names for these different forms or variations of the Super Saiyan form, as the characters were experimenting and distilling and going through all the different permutations and sub-transformations between the initial transformation that Goku achieved on Namek, and then of course the transformation that Gohan achieved of Super Saiyajin 2 when he was fighting against Perfect Cell before he became Super Perfect Cell, which a lot of people also think is the Super Saiyan 2. Maybe I'll do a video about that in the future as well. Cheap plug to future Mike from Laughingstock Media. How's it going? But let's get into that right now. And if you guys are interested in seeing more of these videos like this in the future, I definitely recommend subscribing because there is going to be a lot more to come in the future. I do like saying that word, especially when I'm talking about future or Mirai Toronkasu. But let me pull up the good old manga that Akira Toriyama created, because especially in that case, there definitely seems to be more of a case to be made. See what I did there? In the fact that in the anime, well, some people have tried to say that perhaps the characters look a lot more muscular in that version, maybe because of the differences in animation studios and such at the time. You can look to other channels to break the animation down even more in depth there. I'm going based on the manga primarily in this video. I'll let you guys in the comments go even more in depth in regard to the anime version because, well, some other channels are more likely to edit their videos than me. Hey, here at Laughingstock Media, we love to min-max. And by we, I'm talking about the royal we. I, as the Big Lebowski would say. The dude, I'm totally channeling him here today. But let me pull that up right now as we talk about the initial form that Vegeta debuted. Vegeta's technique against Semi-Perfect Cell, his second form, which was also bulky enough, funny enough, when he was going against Vegeta. Well, Cell debuted it before that, of course, when he was fighting against Piccolo, when he had formed, also by merging with somebody else. Of course, Piccolo had merged with someone who was his older self, his original self, and in this case, Cell had merged with a attractive younger woman. Then again, I guess Cell was actually younger, so, I'll let you guys talk about time travel in the comments. Now, either way, the fact of the matter is that Vegeta, we could see his form right here, the normal Super Saiyan. This is after Vegeta got out of the time chamber. Then at that time, what happened? Well, Vegeta decided to show off his form to Trunks' surprise already. When he powered up, everyone started to mention just how strong he was becoming as his power was surging, and we started to see Gohan looking around inside the time chamber and Goku, because Toriyama is doing an awesome thing, which I'll talk about in a future video because of how great the storytelling is visually during this part of the story, where he was showing and comparing, contrasting Goku and Gohan's time in the chamber comparative to the failures of Vegeta and Trunks to defeat Cell. So we see that Vegeta powers up and becomes his Grade 2 Super Saiyan, the Ascended Super Saiyan, as again the English dub fans like to call it. And we can see just how bulked up he is. You know, Harold loved the muscular manlet, as he liked to call him, of Vegeta. Look at the biceps and the triceps and the deltoids, and especially those pecs. You know, Harold trained me in my you know, vocal cords and stuff in order to do that impression, because I'm totally not Harold. I mean, you know, he's even got vascularity in his forehead. It's crazy with that widow's peak right there. You know, he's not balding at all. And, you know, especially those groin muscles. But, you know, we could see just how jacked he becomes. And the thing is, too, we also see just how jacked Trunks becomes, too. You know, like father, like son. We see a lot of those echoes in this arc as well. Those time echoes, which I did a video you guys can see in the top right corner, talking about time echoes in Dragon Ball Z when Trunks himself becomes a grade 2 as he goes to try and stop Cell from becoming perfect after he goads Vegeta into allowing him to do that. And then, of course, the father and son begin to battle. I love the scene where Trunks blasts Vegeta, because Vegeta's like, you don't have the guts to do it. And then he, I love Vegeta's face right here where he's like, oh boy, he actually does. And he gets blasted from behind. Pause. When this actually happens. Love it. Great moment. Perfect arc, you know, with the perfect villain in it too. Perfect, of course, being, you know, a very different definition here because it's full of plot holes. But either way, the fact of the matter is, later on, we would go to see the failings of these forms perfectly on display as they would fail the characters, particularly when we start to see things transforming in the favor of Cell. When we see that Trunks is fighting against Cell himself. If I could actually find that panel, I don't know where the heck it went. Oh, here we go. And we start to see when Goku uses the form himself. This is when we see, again, contrasting the fight where Trunks had become his grade 3 Super Saiyan, the Ultra Super Saiyan, the Synthol Warrior Super Saiyan, as Harold would probably refer to it as, if I remember that video correctly, because, you know, I edited that thing like 10 years ago. And he's getting super jacked and swole. We see Goku becoming not only the grade 2 right here, but then the grade 3 on top of it. And of course, we also see this again contrasted brilliantly by Toriyama against Trunks failing to even land a single blow against Cell here. In the anime, he's getting some shots in, but in the manga, he's not doing anything. And then we see Goku explain perfectly why they decide to master it and go with the grade 4, where he says he can't beat him because the mass makes him a lot stronger, but way slower. He can't actually hit him with those muscles. And it also wastes his energy. All in all, a regular Super Saiyan is way more balanced. And so knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe! I didn't know that he was an honorary Joe. I guess his name is Joku instead of Goku. From now on, we're going to stay in our Super Saiyan form all the time and get used to it until it's our normal state. We'll start by getting rid of the restless feeling we have when we become a Super Saiyan. So we'll start over from basic training. And so this is the idea of mastering the Super Saiyan form, which inevitably we see Trunks learn this firsthand when Cell explains to him, as I showed in this panel before, and then Trunks falls out. He realized that Vegeta already knew about this, but this idea that Goku had posed right here of mastering the form is what inevitably leads to him and Gohan at the end of their time in the chamber, which they actually come out of the chamber early, is when they leave with this form. And as you could see right here, Vegeta makes immediate notice of what's happening right here. He says, what's with them? They're still Super Saiyans, but I can't sense their ki. It's almost like it's their natural state, it feels like. I don't like the looks of this. Like, he's really nervous. He's sweating. Hopefully that's sweat. And, you know, they're looking at them and everyone's like, what is going on here? This is so bizarre. It's so strange. They're caught off guard by the fact that not only is everyone Gohan and Goku are both Super Saiyajin, but also they don't seem to sense the extreme power that they have. Also, again, like Goku had just mentioned before, they also don't have that restless anger that they feel within them. They're way more calm, they're relaxed. When you become a Super Saiyan, normally you're enraged. You have that anger that's within you, like we could see with Goku here. That's why you have the veins popping. It's not just, the strength that's surging through you. It's rage, it's Ikari, it's that power. That's the reason why Goku, he did it through rage when he saw Krillin killed in front of him. I'm going to do a whole video at some point about why Goku didn't become a Super Saiyan before Namek. Maybe it'll come out before this video. I don't think it will. But either way, the fact of the matter is that Goku, was enraged. And so he saw that as a weakness. It keeps you tense. And that's something that, again, he saw as something he needed to eliminate, just like the waste of energy. And so when he and Gohan exit the chamber, they're not wasting any of their energy. And not just that, but also they're not restless anymore. They could be totally calm as Super Saiyans and not expend any unnecessary energy. This is the greatest strength of this transformation, of this grade 4 of this form. A lot of people believe that the mastered or grade 4 Super Saiyan, Super Saiyajin, is itself actually a much stronger form than the other grades, including the Ultra Super Saiyan that Trunks was using, the grade 3, but there's nothing that they actually say in the story that really says that for a fact. Right here, for example, we do see when Goku powers up before, for Korin, I almost said Krillin, when he is going to show off his power to try and gauge it comparative to Cell's after he goes to see him. Now, during this, right before it happens, we see something where they're speculating about how strong he is. And they're saying, were they really Super Saiyans? I thought you needed a ton of effort to stay in the form, but they're so calm. And Piccolo's saying they are, but they have trained to stay in it during their normal circumstances. This is when Trunks, who is, revealing more and more that he doesn't really have the wisdom of someone in his position, is saying, but if that's the case, when they fight, will they become stronger? So this translation's kind of iffy. It's kind of like, will they become a much stronger form? Will they transcend to even higher levels? So on and so forth. But what Vegeta is saying here is no, you fool, think about it. If they get used to the form, when he increases his ki, the strain on his body won't be so heavy. So basically, they won't need to transform into a higher level like Trunks did with his grade 4 and like Vegeta elected not to. Instead, they won't waste any energy. They'll be able to go their maximum without expending any unnecessary energy by transforming from base into the transformation. Thus, in turn, let's say, for example, when you go from base into Super Saiyan, let's say that you expend a good amount of energy just by transforming. When somebody powers up, they fire a lot of energy off of them. You always see a big pillar of energy shoot up into the sky or something oftentimes in these shows, in Dragon Ball especially, like a big explosion. That's a lot of energy being completely wasted and shot out everywhere. People get blown away. It's almost like a giant ki blast being fired by a character. That's a big waste of energy, right? And so imagine just how much energy you keep within your body by not doing that. It's kind of like what we see later in Dragon Ball Super, for example, if you want to include that continuity with the God Ki. You're not wasting that energy. Instead, you're condensing and powering it up within yourself, and thus, in turn, you only use it against your enemies, against your opponents, and thus, you are condensing that energy and thus only using it for your attacks, for your strength, for your speed, and so on. And that is the greatest strength of these mastered forms, essentially. No loss of stamina through utilizing the form. Of course, there's going to be some seepage, just significantly less, as I'll go on to show. However, Vegeta seems to have somewhat of an understanding of it, more than Trunks at the very least. And then when we see Goku powers up, we do in fact see that he is so strong that just at half his power, he is stronger than Vegeta, Trunks, and everyone else there, which is what leads to Vegeta wanting to go into the chamber and train so that he could surpass Goku. But of course, this is proven not to happen, because when Goku powers up to his full power, which nobody, I guess, realized at the time that he wasn't at his full power already, we see that when he powers up again, there isn't some giant release of like a pillar of energy like, in the anime and stuff, they kind of make it more like that. In the manga, it isn't quite that way. We see like the fiery aura, but it's not like, a giant explosion like shooting up. It's more like a burst of like a kia, like a gust of wind almost. We see Vegeta, even at his 100%, is not as strong as Goku's here. So Goku is over twice as strong, but again, is that because of increased multiplier? I don't think that the series ever tells us that. Instead, it could just be that, like I said in another video you guys can see in the top right corner, that Goku instead just got significantly more powerful because he was training alongside Gohan. Whereas Vegeta and Trunks, might not have sparred anywhere near as much, might not have coordinated anywhere near as much. I mean, after all, how did Trunks, in his opinion, hide a whole different form from Vegeta until he realized at the very end when it was too late that Vegeta already knew this thing and, Trunks had no idea about it? How would that even be possible? Well, because the fact that they weren't even coordinating anywhere near as much as Goku and Gohan, who were sparring. Gohan was steadily unleashing all of his power and, powering Goku up at the same time. Goku got as strong as he did because Gohan's ridiculous OP hidden power was powering Goku up alongside him. And we saw just how strong Goku and Gohan got on Namek, without sparring and fighting alongside each other and releasing each other's power all together at the exact same rate. So, inside that chamber, it only makes sense that they would significantly surpass everyone together. So that's why I think the fruits of their labor is right here on display. And so as a result, that's what we see here together. Now let's get back into, of course, the forms that we see here, because let's notice something. What do we see here from Vegeta and Trunks at the Cell games? Well, neither one of them is a Super Saiyan, are they? Well, let's look again. Vegeta was in a rush to go back into the chamber after he sensed Goku power up, now wasn't he? Well, at the Cell games, this is after he went back in the chamber. Same thing with Trunks. That's why Trunks has long hair again. He got his hair cut after that first day again, when Piccolo was in the chamber. But then, what do we see here? When everyone's back at the Cell games, right before everything begins, we see Mr. Satan right here, so it's right about to begin. What do we see? Well, neither Vegeta or Trunks are powered up as a Super Saiyan. So if they were mastered Super Saiyans, well, why are they not with Super Saiyan hair? I mean, after all, wouldn't they always be in their Super Saiyan forms if they in fact were mastered Super Saiyans like many people believe them to be? I mean, it's kind of strange. Like, would they not do the exact same thing as Goku and Gohan? Does that automatically mean, though, that they aren't, or that they, in fact, just automatically have to be in their grade 2 or even grade 3 forms moving forward? Well, not necessarily, because, let's keep going, because it gets a little bit more ambiguous as we go along. For example, when we actually do see Vegeta and Trunks fight, do they get really bulky like they did earlier, like I showed you? Well, no. Let's look, for example. When we see Vegeta and Trunks fight, the only time when they start to fight in the Cell games, of course, they're not fighting against Cell. Who do they fight against? Well, they fight against Cell Juniors. Now, when they go to fight against Cell Juniors, they power up, and we see it right here. Both of them go to power up into their Super Saiyan forms. Now, when they do this, what happens? Well, we see them power up here, but look at Vegeta. Look at his muscles. Look at those muscles. Well, when Vegeta powers up and we see his muscles, That's interesting. We see Vegeta's muscles and we see Trunks's. We see their physiques on display. Now look at Trunks's musculature here. And I'll keep going. Look at Vegeta's musculature here. And let me keep going. We have a much closer look, actually. Here's their physiques when they're powered up to fight against characters who are far more powerful than Semi-Perfect Cell that they had fought before after their first time in the chamber. Well, Vegeta mostly did. Trunks was gearing up to fight him before, definitely gearing, let's say that. And, then they went into the chamber again and they're struggling against the Cell Juniors who are far more powerful than he was, Let's put some respect on Piccolo, too. He's the only other person standing up beside them. Even Goku at this point can't do it because of his being weakened after fighting against Cell. And again, look at them. Now, let's go back again. Let's take a look at Vegeta's physique here. This is Vegeta when he fought against Semi-Perfect Cell in his grade 2. This is Vegeta here. Way more muscular when he fought against Cell in his Semi-Perfect Cell here. He seems a lot closer to Goku in terms of his look now, doesn't he? Now look at Trunks. We can go back and again look at Trunks when he was fighting against, let's say for example, even Trunks after he powers back down a little bit, we can go and look at Trunks. Let's see if I could actually find that panel one more time. When he was fighting against Cell as his perfect or his semi-perfect form, and even Vegeta. Here is Trunks when he powers up into his grade 2. And here is Trunks when he is fighting against the Cell Juniors. Now again, look at those biceps. And then look at them here. Again, huge difference. So, why would Vegeta and Trunks be using grade 1 Super Saiyan when they have access to grade 2 if they did not master or at least access the grade 4 of Super Saiyan yet? There's a big question. Perhaps because the fact that they actually do now have grade 4. So here's the question then. If Trunks and Vegeta both figured out the exact same thing that Gohan and Goku did when they went into the time chamber, then before Cell unleashed the Cell Juniors, why when we see the two of them standing on the cliffside are they in their base forms? Like we could see right, in the panel that I had shown you before. Like, why do we see Vegeta and Trunks standing around in their base forms, like, right here? Wouldn't it make sense for them to be just like Goku and Gohan? Is it just like a stylistic choice for Toriyama to have created it that way? Or perhaps is it more of a in-universe reason? Is it because they figured out most of it, but not the entire thing? Is it perhaps that they, near the end of their first day, or their second day in this case, in the chamber, finally were able to master the form in a sense in order to transform into it, but not in order to completely stay within it the entire time without any stamina loss or, to such a degree of strength to where it wouldn't matter. I mean, after all, like we just had discussed, they still are nowhere near as powerful as Goku or Gohan. So maybe it just is a strength difference, a skill level difference, let's say. Goku and Gohan are so much stronger than Trunks and Vegeta, at least twice as strong perhaps, or, well, maybe not at least, but somewhere near like 40% stronger, based upon the fact that Goku, when he powers up to full power, is still so much stronger than Vegeta and Trunks here after their second day when he didn't even finish 1 year in the chamber with Gohan, that, it's easy for him to stay in the form for longer. I mean, after all, look what happens when Gohan kills Cell at the end. When Gohan kills Cell, Vegeta powers down into his base form after he blasts Cell with his final attack, and then Cell, when Gohan kills him, he powers down too. Gohan is so exhausted, he drops down too. Also, Goku, in the afterlife, he's in his base form, right? Not just that, but even though Goku and Gohan and Vegeta and even Trunks in the future all have mastered Super Saiyan, Trunks in Super and stuff, but everyone in the future have mastered Super Saiyan, none of them ever stay in Super Saiyan all the time. You could say that maybe Toriyama just didn't want to always draw him like Super Saiyan. Maybe Toei and Shueisha were like, let's just keep him, normal most of the time and then have him transform for out-of-universe reasons. But either way, there's an argument to be made that they chose to stay in their base forms and maybe there was some kind of weight on them. Even old Kai later on, the Elder Supreme Kai, Rao Kaioshin, does in fact say that staying in Super Saiyan forever could limit their life. Like, for example, if they were to fuse in Potara as a Super Saiyan into Vegito. So there could be something to be said about that even as much as they do master Super Saiyan, to stay in it, let's say permanently, it still does have some degree of drain, even if a little bit, and could in fact limit them, which is why they don't stay in it all the time. But hey, maybe I'll even do another video about that in the future, a kind of follow up here. But with that being said, guys, I believe that overall there is a strong chance that maybe that Trunks and Vegeta did in fact actually have, at least in the manga continuity, mastered Super Saiyan by the time of the Cell games, because after all, why else would they not be bulked up like we saw them at the other parts of the arc? Either that, or somehow they just kind of were able to use their own variation of Super Saiyan, the initial form, much like Goku and Gohan did, which was also able to access just as much strength as their other forms, but they still weren't as strong as the main characters at the time. I mean, essentially, Toriyama seems to convey to the audience that Mastered Super Saiyan is the initial Super Saiyan just, mastered, grade 4. Again, a lot of people think it's like 10 times stronger than the initial form, even more. There are guides out there that say this or that, but I mostly go by what Toriyama wrote in the manga, in continuity, in context. Everything else is descending or different levels of canonicity, and, for me, what's actually there in the story is ultimately the most important thing in my eyes. But what do you guys think? Let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments. Make sure to like this video if you like it, share it out, subscribe for more content to come in the future, and stick around, because there is a lot more to come in the future.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.